Hello, party people. It is such a gloomy day outside. I literally don't want to leave my room today. And that's totally fine because we're going to film a video today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. Hi, my name is Liz. And in today's video, we are going to be doing something different. I've seen a lot of other booktubers doing this method for their videos, and I've always been really curious about it, and I've always wanted to try to replicate it or do something similar. So we are going to be doing some tier ranking today, and I thought it'd be really fun, especially leading up to Halloween, if we tier ranked some thrillers together. So I found I think 30 books that I have read, 30 thrillers that I've read over the course of my reading journey. There's clearly way more than 30 that I've actually read, but I just found a bunch of random ones that I thought would be fun to talk about, and that's what we're gonna do. Let me switch my screen over. So if you look at my screen, we have 5 different categories that we're gonna be tier ranking. We have Forever and Ever, which is like, these are like my god tier books. Like, I love these thrillers. They will always be 5-star, 6-star reads for me, and that will probably never change. Our next one that's just a step below is Deserves a Reread, because some of these thrillers, like, it's really hard to reread a thriller, especially when you already know the plot twist and like what's gonna actually happen. But some of these thrillers, like, I genuinely want to reread and see if I have a similar experience to the first time I read them, so that's why that's there. Number 3 is Here for the Vibes. So this one's kind of like my medium, like middle ground area. These are definitely books that I would recommend and still recommend even today, and they just give you like that fall or spooky feeling if you're wanting to feel thrilled. The next one is Good at the Time. So these are books that I read, maybe I really enjoyed them years and years ago, but I probably would not have the same experience now, and I probably wouldn't recommend them. Maybe I would, I don't know. I think these are like the maybes. Maybe just in that time of my life I really enjoyed it, but now that I have different reading tastes and everything, and I know what I like and don't like about a mystery thriller, then maybe I probably wouldn't recommend these anymore. And the final one is just Nope. Like, these are books that I did not enjoy reading. Either it was slow or it was too predictable. These are books I probably would not recommend people, and I would probably say steer clear of that, especially if you have similar reading tastes to mine. Just so everyone knows, this is all opinions. So if you've read some of these and I put them in the Nope category or Good at the Time, and these are like your 5-star books, great. We are all different readers. This is just something fun so you guys can see my thoughts and opinions on some different mystery thrillers and what makes it a good thriller in my eyes. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start tier ranking. So first book we're going to talk about is That's Not My Name. I read this last fall, and I remember when I read it, I immediately thought it had very similar writing to Vincent Ralph, Natalie D. Richards, where it's YA mystery thrillers, and it's always very fast paced. It's short, quick chapters, and it's very easy to binge and fly through. This one, I predicted the plot twist and the ending of the book, like, after the first chapter. Since I predicted it, kind of takes a little bit of the fun away in my eyes, but I think I would still recommend it. I would say I'm here for the vibes, because it did have like the perfect fall vibes that I think a lot of people would enjoy. This is like a girl wakes up with no memory on the side of the street, and she's bruised, bleeding, and then a man shows up at the police station claiming he's her father, and then you have another POV of a boy whose girlfriend is missing, and everyone thinks he's the prime suspect. And so, like, you're going back and forth trying to figure out what's going on, what the actual story is that's happening, because clearly something's going on. Next, we have Five Total Strangers. This one I think deserves a reread. I really enjoyed this when I read it. I read it a few winters ago. It was very fast paced and very easy to fly through, and I actually felt like the adrenaline pumping while I was reading this book. So I think for this one I want to reread it, maybe this winter or the next winter, sometime soon, and I want to see if I still have a similar experience, if I still feel like it was thrilling. Hi. Murphy decided to come and say hi. Moving on, we have The Therapist by B.A. Paris. I read this a few years ago, and I was shocked with how much I enjoyed this book. It kept me guessing till the very end. I actually got really spooked while I was reading it, and I think I want to reread this one because I want to see, since I know the ending of this book, I want to see if it holds up, like if I actually see the foreshadowing happening during this book. I don't know, and that's why I want to reread it, and I really enjoyed it, like more than I thought I would. And I think that's part of the reason why I rated it so highly, was because it threw me off guard how much I enjoyed it. Moving on, we have Hunted by Darcy Coates. This is my first book and only book that I've ever read by this author. I remember I was very unmotivated to read it. I remember when I started it, it took me a while to get into it because this is a thicker thriller as well. Actually, I think this is considered horror, but we're gonna put it in thriller because it was very thrilling in my eyes. But it's like very much like survival of the fittest. You're out in nature and you're trying to survive, and like someone went missing and you're trying to find them, and people are getting separated, people are getting injured. You know, it kind of had all the things you would want, especially in like the fall/winter time. I'm gonna say I'm here for the vibes. I didn't give it a super high rating, but I did enjoy it, and I think a lot of other people probably would too. It is thicker, so it's like a little bit harder to get into at the beginning, but once you're in it, you're in it, and it's very fast paced. Moving on, we have The Housemaid. This is forever and ever gonna be one of my 5-star mystery thrillers. I loved this book so much. I read it a few years ago, kind of whenever it was really hyped up, and it was my very first Freida McFadden book that I read. I ate this up. I finished it within a day, like almost in one sitting. I finished this book because I was hooked. Her writing is so bingeable and fast paced. Every single chapter kind of ends on a cliffhanger, and I'm so excited to watch this movie. It's going to come out in this December, and I cannot wait. But yes, this will forever and ever hold a special place in my heart because I loved this thriller. We have The Sanatorium. I read this, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago. It was around the time that like The Guest List was popular, is I think when I read this, and I really wanted another book that was similar, and it was set during a blizzard, like in the winter time. So in my head I was like, oh, this is perfect for the winter. And I did end up reading it in the winter, and I think it gave very similar vibes to The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I'm gonna say good at the time. I don't think if I reread it now I would enjoy it, because I remember it being a little bit slower and harder to get into. Next up we have Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is a YA thriller. It's a series. I have not read the rest of this series, and I don't plan on it. I didn't love it. It was kind of, it gave me meh vibes. I was really looking forward to this book because I know so many people enjoyed it, and it did have some really cool chapters where like it's like going back and forth in time, because there's like this original like mystery kidnapping thing, murder mystery thing that happened many years ago, like 20 years ago, and then you're in present timeline, and our main character is trying to like uncover the secrets of what happened. It seems like this person who started this whole thing is back. I wanted to like it, but I didn't actually end up really enjoying it that much. I don't want to say nope because it feels harsh. I think if I read this when I was in high school, I would have ate it up. So I'm going to say maybe good at the time, but it wasn't that good at the time. I don't know. I almost need a category that's in between good at the time and nope. I think I just read it at the wrong time. I think if I read it when I was younger, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. Next up, we have You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This is the first book I've ever read by her, and I really loved her writing style. This book itself was just kind of vibey. I read it last fall, and it was the fall vibes that I wanted, and it had kind of like spookier, creepy elements, like it's dual POV. You're trying to figure out who the psychopath is and who is out to get who, and I thought it was decent for what it was, and I was able to fly through it very quickly. It was very bingeable. Next, we have The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I have so many mixed feelings about The Guest List. I think it was good at the time, because at the time I read it, it was whenever it was really popular, but I don't think I would enjoy it now, because it was definitely a slower paced book, like I mentioned with Sanatorium. Very similar vibes to that, so I don't know. Next, we have Hidden Pictures. Oh my gosh, I was obsessed with this book a few years ago. I'm gonna say it deserves a reread, because I honestly want to reread it mainly because throughout the book you're getting inserts of these kids' drawings. Our main character's a nanny for this like maybe 5-year-old boy, I can't remember, and he's an artist. He loves to draw. Now his pictures start out like stick figures, like what you would expect from a 5-year-old, and then it slowly escalates into these really creepy and realistic drawings, and you're like trying to figure out what's going on. And like these drawings were actually in the book, which I really loved. It felt very immersive, and I kind of want to reread it for that reason. Next, we have Then She Was Gone. I was obsessed with this book when it came out. This was a 5-star read for me. I think I want to reread it eventually. I don't think it's forever and ever, mainly because it was very predictable. This was the first book I ever read by Lisa Jewell, and it blew up in the book community when it was released. It deserved to blow up because it was a great book, especially when I read it. But since I've read more by her, I feel like if I reread it, I might have a different opinion. The ending is very predictable. It's very sad and it's very dark. So if you don't like dark psychological thrillers, then you probably should not read Lisa Jewell's writing, because every single book I've read by her has been very dark and twisty and psychological, and sometimes it leaves like a pit in your stomach and like he feels like a little icky a little bit. I don't know. And yet I continue to read her books. Moving on. How can I help you? I'm just gonna put it here. I read this very recently. I did not like this book. It was a little less than 200 pages, I think, and you're following 2 different women. Basically, it was a 100-page book, because each POV you would go back to the other woman and she would just recount the same events that just took place from her perspective. So it felt like I was just reading the same story over and over every chapter. And I just didn't like it. And I also felt like it was a little underwhelming. Next, we have The Cellar. I read this when I first started reading mystery thrillers in high school. I really enjoyed it at the time. I remember like the thought of being like kidnapped or missing or being trapped somewhere was always very thrilling to me, because it's like, you know, that's like one of your fears when you're a young woman, and it still is one of my fears to this day. But I don't think I necessarily would like it now. I think it was just good at the time, and I kind of want to keep it that way. I don't want to reread it. I think it's just gonna live on in my brain as like, oh, that was good at that age. Next up, we have Wrong Place, Wrong Time. This book, I'm gonna say Here for the Vibes. This was like the first time travel book that I read that I genuinely enjoyed it, and it felt so unique. The way the time travel worked is each day you're going back a day. Every time she would go to sleep, she would wake up the previous day, and it would like trickle back in time. That way, it wasn't like a huge time jump. It was gradual, and I thought it was really interesting because every day that she woke up, there was a new piece of the mystery that you learned. I just thought it was done really well. I thought like all the puzzle pieces and everything, all the foreshadowing that she never realized in real time, how that ended up like snowballing into this like bigger event. Highly recommend this book. Next up, we have The Housemaid's Secrets. So this is the second book after The Housemaid, and I'm gonna say Here for the Vibes because it was very similar stylistically to the first book, and I loved the first book. Obviously, it's up in forever and ever. But since it was so similar and it had similar characters from that first book, it didn't leave the same impression as the first book did on me. I still enjoyed it. I still thought it was a cool twist, and I still ate it up. But I'm not gonna say it's forever and ever because nothing in my eyes can top Housemaid, at least in that series. But I'm definitely here for the vibes, and I'm here for her writing. Next, we have Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. Forever and ever. I loved this book. This is another book I read in one sitting, in one day. It had such a cool twist. I thought it was so unique, and like at the time, I was just like sitting there shocked. I read it in the winter, which is the perfect time to read any book that involves a blizzard or snow, in my opinion. I was obsessed with it, and I still think about this book even to this day. I don't think I want to reread it. I kind of just want to leave it the way it was in my brain, but I will forever and ever recommend this book. I loved it so much. Next, we have Murderland. I read this for Summerween this past summer. I'm gonna say I liked it for Summerween, so I'll say Here for the Vibes because it was good for Summerween. I think this one just like was the perfect YA thriller set at a theme park that I could possibly want at that time. Just very meh feelings for that one, but like it definitely gave what I needed it to give at the time. Next, we have For Found Dead. Oof, this is hard. Like I said, I need another category in between good at the time and nope. Okay, we're gonna say Here for the Vibes. We're gonna say Here for the Vibes because it's not a nope for me because I still enjoyed this book. However, it just fell a little flat because I was expecting way more after reading Five Total Strangers by this author. I was obsessed with that one, and this one I expected to feel the same way. It was the second book I read. I don't know, I felt like it had a lot of potential because it's set in this mall and this group of kids who work at the movie theater that's like connected to this mall. They find a dead body, and then the mall is shut down and all the doors are locked. They can't get out, and there's a killer on the loose in the mall. And so like it had all of the elements that it needed to freak me out and thrill me. There were parts of it where I was like, what am I reading? But it still had its spooky moments. So I'm just gonna say Here for the Vibes. I don't know. That one I'm a little on the fence about. I don't know exactly what category it should go in. Next, we have Deepwater. This is gonna go in nope. I read this a few summers ago, and it was just so boring. This couple goes to this island where they meet other couples who are also there, and things start to get weird. Kind of like Survivor-ish, but I don't know. I remember I ended up like skimming like the last chunk of the book because I was so bored and I just wanted it to be over. But I wanted to know like what happened. I was so underwhelmed with everything. So I'm just gonna say nope because I read 300 pages for what? Next, we have None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. This is her second to last book that she released. Where do I want to put this? We're gonna say Here for the Vibes. I enjoyed this one a lot. I don't want to reread it just because I know exactly what happens. But for this one, it was a really unique book. I think it was one of her best that she's written because you're going back and forth between this podcast and then also like what's actually happening in the events that this podcast is talking about. It keeps like alluding to this like huge thing that happens where there's like dead bodies and everything. And so the whole time you're trying to figure out what led to this. So I think she did a great job with the pacing of this book. Next, we have The Hunting Party. I'm gonna say Here for the Vibes. I just feel like that's like my auto. answer. I didn't like it more than The Guest List, but I didn't like it less than The Guest List. It felt very similar, just set instead of at a wedding by these cliffs, it's set at this like chalet out on this mountainside, and it's set during a blizzard. I read it in the winter. It gave me the winter vibes that I wanted. I wanted to feel cozy. Next, we have The Guest by B.A. Paris. I am gonna say nope. I really enjoyed The Therapist by this author. The Guest really let me down. Unfortunately, I read it this past spring, and it was just really slow. It was really boring. It did have a really cool twist at the end, which I wasn't expecting. But overall, thinking on my reading experience with this book, it just felt like a waste of time. Like, it felt like I read that 300-page book for like a cool twist, but then everything else leading up to it was excruciating. Oh my gosh, The Teacher. Another nope. I'm sorry. I used to be a teacher. Okay. Ask me why I thought it was a good idea to read this book called The Teacher while I was teaching. That was the worst decision I've ever made. I was so icked out and grossed out by this book. I still remember it vividly, and it still makes me feel disgusting. I feel like I need to go take a shower. I do not recommend it, which I feel bad saying because I really love her writing. It's Freida McFadden. I think her other books I'm gonna be here for. This one was just a miss for me. I think it just hit a little too close to home. Like, it just felt really, really gross. The Last Word by Taylor Adams. Forever and Ever. I am obsessed with this book, and I always will be. I definitely want to reread it, but I'm going to keep it in forever and ever because it's like one of those books that I don't think I'll ever not like. It's so fast paced from page one. You are in it, and it just like takes you on a wild ride. I was like holding my breath while I was reading this book. I read the whole thing on a plane ride to Maine a few years ago, and I was just eating it up. The entire plane ride, like, I was stressed. I love this author's writing. I will continue to read this author's writing because of this book. The Housemaid is Watching. This one, I'm gonna say nope, unfortunately. This one just felt really flat for me. It is the same characters, but it's like a time jump, 15 years in the future or something like that, or 10 years in the future. And it just felt completely different. And I think I set myself up for failure on that one because I went into it expecting it to be similar to the first two. My brain kind of rejected it after I read it. It's my own fault, honestly. Next, we're gonna talk about Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This was her newest release that came out beginning of this year, I think. I read it. That sounds right. I'm gonna say it was good at the time. I mean, I enjoyed it decently at the time, but it was very slow. It did have like a cool twist to it, which I was not expecting. I did enjoy the twist a lot, but the ending, I hated the ending. And the book itself was very slow. So I'm just gonna say good at the time. I was excited to read another one of her books, and I think I want to read other books by this author because these are the only two that I've read. Rock, Paper, Scissors and Beautiful Ugly are the only two I've read by Alice Feeney. I definitely need to change that. The Natural. Okay, I'm gonna say Forever and Ever. I loved this series. I'm just gonna lump in all 4 books with just this first picture. Loved this series. I read it last month. Was it last month? Last month. I read this series. Obsessed. I see why everyone talks about it and raves about it. It was so fun and so good. I still think about it. Honestly, like, feel like I want to reread this one even though I just read it last month. I have other books I need to read instead. The Silent Patient, we're gonna say good at the time. I really enjoyed it when it came out. This was like when I first started like getting back into mystery thrillers, and so I hadn't read a mystery thriller in a while. This was like my first like adult mystery thriller, and when I read it, the plot twist completely took me off guard. I was not expecting it, but upon further reflection now, after having read so many mystery thrillers now, I don't think I would enjoy this book. I think I would have figured out the plot twist if I read it now instead of then, but I really enjoyed it when I read it. Next, we have Survive the Night by Riley Sager. I'm gonna put it in nope. The reason being is because, so this is the first and only book that I've read by Riley Sager. It involves having an unreliable narrator, which I've never read a book with an unreliable narrator before this one, and I learned a lot about myself after reading this book, and I learned that I don't like giving up control. It irritated me to no end. I hated not knowing if our main character actually knew what she was doing or if she was hallucinating. It was very thrilling. I will give it that. But since I don't like to give up control, and that's how I felt while reading this book, since you're in her head, I just did not like it. It really aggravated me the whole time I was reading it. But I definitely want to read another book by this author because I know he's highly talked about. So I want to give another book by Riley Sager a chance, but this one was just a miss for me. And the last book, No Exit, Forever and Ever. Okay, anything by Taylor Adams I feel like I'm gonna love. I was obsessed with this book. I once again read this like in one sitting. I loved No Exit. It was the perfect winter book set during a blizzard, a group of strangers stuck at this like rest stop, and then the main character finds a young girl trapped in a cage in the trunk of one of the cars in the parking lot. It was just a wild ride from start to finish. Like the whole time my adrenaline was pumping, and I really loved this book. This is another book that I would love to reread as well, but I'm going to keep it in forever and ever because it deserves it. And that is going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This was a fun new way of doing a video and like being able to share my opinions on stuff. I definitely want to try this again in the future with some other topics or other books. So if you enjoyed it, let me know down in the comments and I will try to come up with other things I can tier rank. I love watching these kinds of videos when people rank things because I just think it's really interesting, and I love to see like what the categories are and like what books pop up. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was entertaining for you. This was fun. This was a really good video for me to film on a rainy day like today. So thank you for following along and listening to me yap about my opinions on thrillers. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.